Well, thank you for joining us today. We're honored to have Dr. Warren Stewart with us
Thank you,
today,
sir.
civil rights leader and has been pastor at First Institutional Baptist Church for 44 years.
Yes, sir.
Some people never learn, I guess.
No, we never learned. Yeah, yeah.
But we're here at East Lake Park, and it has such a rich history for civil rights. We're talking today about work that the Civil Conservation Corp did in the 30s here, and work that the Civilian Climate Corps might do in the future. But Dr. Stewart, if you could just say a little bit about this place that we're in today and the role that it's played in civil rights in Phoenix.
East Lake Park is in the center of a historic African American neighborhood. Of course, it's going through gentrification now, so it is changing. But, and believe it or not, at one time, this was the edge of Phoenix. But this community in the, I would say, in a 6-block area was primarily African American. There was an African American hospital not far from here, where African Americans had to go to the hospital. There is the Tanner Chapel AME Church, which is the oldest African American church in Phoenix, well, in Arizona, and it's right near East Lake Park. I was reading in some articles in the early 1900s from the Arizona Republic, and Booker T. Washington spoke here. Wow. In the early 1900s. He came through Phoenix, and he was one of the featured speakers, and it said, and he'll be speaking at East Lake Park. And of course, First Institutional is right down the street from here, Pilgrim Rest, Phyllis Memorial CME Church. There's an Black Apostolic Church. So this was the center of the African American community.
And you were such a leader in reinstituting Martin Luther King Jr. Day here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I've been at some rallies at this park as we gather here and then march down to the Capitol.
Right.
So this has been a gathering place for people to move civil rights forward.
Very much so, very much so. And we still, well, of course, because of COVID-19, we couldn't gather here last year, but God willing, this January, we'll be right back here and marching down to the Capitol and then over to a big festival in Margaret Hans Park.
Well, originally the Civilian Conservation Corp was segregated. So there were black camps and there were white camps. I think the amendment originally had said that they wouldn't discriminate, but then this was the 30s, so it ended up being segregated. The new Civilian Climate Corps, I would imagine it would be so important to have it integrated, have men and women.
That's right.
And what can you imagine this might do for bridging the divides that exist between races in America as young people work together?
Sure. Well, it's very important that we interact. The more races interact with one another, the more they learn about one another, and they find, I would say, more commonalities than differences. So that is extremely important. But as I was reading about this proposed corps that's coming, what kept coming to my mind, it's pre-reparations. It's not quite reparations, but the very fact that they're going to make sure that environmental injustice is addressed, that systemic racism is weeded out of its whole operation, that it will help to restore many inner city neighborhoods that have not yet been gentrified, that have been robbed of their value because of redlining. So I see this as kind of pre-reparational, if that's a word. Yeah.
Well, originally, the work that the CCC did in the 30s here at the park, I think had to do with the pool, for one thing.
Sure.
Do you know anything about the history of the pool? And, was it, this park was seen as a gathering place for black people in the 30s. And then eventually it got integrated Do you know anything?
Well, it was, you know, during segregation, it was the pool, the public pool where black people went. You couldn't go to the other public pools. Since desegregation, you find people of all colors here, mostly black and brown. But now that the neighborhood is changing with so many condominiums, when they reopen the pool, you might find that the majority of those in the pool are not black and brown. Just showing how time changes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking time to be with us today and share a little bit of your history, and thank you for your leadership over the years on civil rights, and you've also been a voice for caring for the environment as well.
Yes, oh yes.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. God bless you and all the work that you're doing.